For the latest in strategic affairs, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Click the bell icon for updates.
Did you know that development was a primary factor molding voter choice for both the Congress and the BJP voter in the just concluded Karnataka election? Did you know that inflation was another key factor influencing voter choice? Hello and welcome to another edition of Capital Calculus. I am your host, Anil Padmanabhan. In the run-up to the just concluded Karnataka election, the popular perception was that this would be a hung verdict. The logic was that this was a waveless election. This forecast was thoroughly belied by the final outcome of the election. An anti-incumbency wave handed the BJP a stinging defeat. To decode this verdict, we spoke to Pradeep Mehta, CMD of Access My India. You may remember that Access My India got its forecast in its exit poll of an outright verdict for the Congress spot on. In the run-up to the just concluded election to Karnataka, the popular perception, as I mentioned earlier, was that this would be a hung verdict. But the outcome, as we all know, was exactly the opposite. How did analysts get it so wrong?
See, what had happened is most of the time we as analysts generally refer the past trends. And in Karnataka, last time there was a hung assembly. And that is the precisely reason why everybody was thinking on the hung side of it, the tight race kind of a thing. There is no way with either party, and that is when you end up having the hung assembly, which was the case last election 2018. So this is the reason why generally people tend to, and because that is the data before everybody, so they try and speculate on that direction.
Okay. So very clearly the wave was anti-incumbency, if we have one word to describe the wave. So what were the reasons and factors driving this anti-incumbency?
Okay. So any election for that matter, three very important and pertinent thing in the outcome of the election is first is I say it, Dave, Vade and Irade. When I say Dave is a claim to be made by the incumbent government. Vade is the promises will be made by the challenger who is in the opposition. And based on this Dave and Vade, people will make their choices, which is the Irade, So any election for that matter, which evolve and revolve around these three very aspects. Okay, now coming to the Karnataka, and when we say Dave, people very carefully evaluate what kind of promises you have made in last election and how and where and what you have delivered during these 5 years. They evaluate very carefully. So coming to the Karnataka, people have witnessed three different government in 5 years. And all three parties were involved in this. But head of the government in the first year was the H.D. Kumaraswamy JDS in alliance with Congress. So they have seen one odd year governance of this JDS, H.D. Kumaraswamy. And after that, BJP took the charge in the leadership of Yedurappaji. And just before 21 months of the election, Bombay Saab was Basavaraj Bombay Saab was the chief minister of BJP. So people have seen these three different government, and I would say that is where the all kind of a confusion or all kind of a delivery and over and above, during these 5 years, the great Corona happened. So that is when if there is some calamity or something of this sort, people look forward to the government of the day, you know, and otherwise also, as I mentioned. So this was clearly evident that none of these three government in last 5 years could live to the expectation of the people. Whereas prior to this 5 years, from 13 to 18, the Karnataka ruled by Congress under Chief Ministership of Siddharamaiah ji, and that is where they realize this is much better placed. And this time also, he was very much in the race of Chief Minister. So people thought this is the best choice for them. So this is how it turned out to be. And this is the reason why the anti-incumbency is nothing but the gap between commitment and delivery.
Pradeep is confirming that in fact there was an anti-incumbency wave. But how does this rest with the fact that overall the state, by any metric, saw impressive development, especially with respect to big ticket infrastructure projects, as well as saturation access to cooking gas?
Yeah. So very good question you ask, Anil. So when you say development, we have to decode what is development. The development is something which touch across the board, across the spectrum, across the demography and across the geography. If it touches all section of the society, rich and poor, backward and upper class, all age group, gender, then it's like a scorecard, right? In your exam, it is like an exam. In your exam, you get marks for various subjects, and within subjects, you will find in a question paper at least 10 to 15 to 20 questions. So if you need to be on top of it, you need to do good in all the subjects, all the questions. So what you referred is the infrastructure. Yes, in country as a whole, infrastructural development has been quite evident. But that these days, voter is also very informed, very wise, and they can very well see that if it is a road, they know very well this road, if it is good or bad, who's responsible for this, whether municipality or the state government or the central government. They know pretty well. So what infrastructure you are referring largely goes the credit to the central government. So people are very smart in this sense.
The exit poll from Access My India threw up an interesting factoid. It showed that inflation was among the three key concerns that influenced voter choice.
See, when we say, and let me tell you one more very important fact and very pertinent in any election for that matter. The 100 vote cast turnout, those who didn't come up, forget them. 80 belongs to bottom of the pyramid. I'm referring to their livelihood is largely depend on the government of the day. 80 out of 100, which is too big a number. But if you see what is the role of, for that matter, state government, what are they responsible for? The basic, broad. Road, electricity, water, health, education, law and order, and PDS, and farmers related matters. These are the broad spectrum which touch across the board, majority of the people in any state for that matter. So when you say inflation, so generally we ask whom you are likely to vote or voted. And after that, we simply ask, is there any particular reason you are voting for this party or leader? So in case of BJP voters, 41% says they're voting for the development. 41%. And for the Congress, 34% said they were voting for the development, which is a very common phrase used by the people. After that is realism. For the BJP voter, the second best after development was 19% because of PN, 13% because of MLA candidate, and 11% because of we are the loyal to this party. Whoever comes and go, we always vote for this party. Pasad ki party, we call it. Coming to the Congress, 34% is the first data set. After that, the best thing is 10% people said because of they want to change. Parivartan chahiye. That is where you refer the anti-incumbency. After that, 9% inflation and 9% promises made by the Congress party. So this is the reason why they have voted to Congress. And here you will find all these three elements or four elements is reflecting the performance of the government and the promises made by the challenger. So all put together, this is also like any success or defeat, a win or loss. It has multiple regions because state is too big, 5 crore people, each one of us having a different face, so as the mindset, so as the thinking, so as the needs and aspiration and expectations. So whomever they think is the right person or the party to fulfill all these things, they go with that.
The exit poll uncovered that one pain point of this Karnataka election was gas prices.
The inflation, as I mentioned, is the second biggest reason why they voted for Congress. When I say inflation, if you see, of course, for credit goes to COVID also in this case. Everything, every price has increased during this period, right? Last 3-4 years, if you see that, the food prices, the basic amenity, the basic essential prices, even for that matter, milk also. Though people refer, because gas cylinder is something which easily you can draw the the comparison, and because of Ukraine and this war, it has further increased the oil prices, so as the gas prices. So which is, you can easily single out one. But as I told you, even in kitchen or in any recipe, you have so many ingredients, and you will find that bulk of them, the prices has increased in last 4 years for sure. So it's always, there can never be a one reason for that. Even for inflation also. If one prices is gone, if the others are in control, then one can match it. One can understand this and one can adjust this. So it has to be in totality, in toto.
The electoral angst with respect to cooking gas is yet another signal that aspirations have taken flight. It is no longer just a case of roti kapda or makan. Instead, it is one about bijli, sadak or pani.
Of course, yes. And this is not that this 5 year, 10 years. You go back to 75 years back. So there will always be the problems, and there will always be the progress. Always be the progress. Every day, coming day is going to be better than the previous day. It is as simple as that. So as the aspirations. For a human being, if you and me when working in a company, we want to grow. We start with management training and apprentice, and then we move on. And every time we want better, the higher up, which is the nature, human nature. So as the case of armed public, as you mentioned, roti kapda makan. But road, as you mentioned, the road thing is largely addressed in last 20 years, as you mentioned. The road, particularly village connectivity. But water, drinking water, which is the basic and most important amenities, is still a problem. 70% of the India does not have water from tap. They struggle. Now they've started the Har Ghar Nal kind of a yojana, Har Ghar Jal and Nal. So now slowly, gradually it is increasing. So drinking water is a problem. Electricity. Now, there was in 70 years back, the electricity connection is a problem. 10 years back or 20 years back, supply of electricity was a problem. 5, 6, 10 years back, 24 hours electricity was a problem. People were facing problem in urban area and as well as rural. The irrigation can happen only if there is a power. So water and electricity always is, even today, is at the top of the table when it comes to multiplier effect. How many people? The first priority is electricity and water. You will find that is still 40 to 60%, 40 to 60% of the total chance. That top problem is electricity and water supply. So aspirations are always, on the upward. It's going to be. It's a human nature, which is the case.
My point is, presumably it has grown at a faster pace in the last decade than it has ever before because of all that you just said.
Yes, definitely yes, because thanks to the technology and thanks to the union government and central government, and particularly Prime Minister, the kind of infrastructure he got, like we are talking about 5G. Now you see how many countries have the 5G facility are introduced? Very limited. Here also introduced. So it is the same way. So technology, what is the meaning of technology? Is also allows the communication, the awareness. So that is the reason why I always say that 30 years, 20 years back, before 2000, before internet or this what you call information era, India was known as a homogeneous country, right? And after this 2000, and particularly last 5 years, India is now known as a heterogeneous. Why? Because the information. Now in earlier days हम बोलते थे कि भाई पूरा का पूरा गांव, पूरा का पूरा शहर, well 80-70% people एक ही तरह का खाना खाता है, एक ही तरह का तेल लगाता है, एक ही तरह के साबुन से नहाता है, एक ही तरह के कपड़े पहनता है, एक ही तरह के फुटवेयर है, सबके ब्रांड की भी बात कर ले, राइट? पूरा का पूरा गांव. बट अब वो सीन, और कहते थे यार वो बाहर विदेश में तो बाजू वाले के घर में क्या हो रहा है किसी को पता नहीं है, विच इज द केस नाउ because of this, thanks to this our friend, they are engaged and consumed with this very friend.
Are we then looking at a point of inflection in India's political economy wherein politicians going forward will be accountable for their actions or the lack of it, as the case may be?
Yeah, definitely. These days, as we progress more and more, the accountability on the part of politicians is way too high, way too high. Because again, because of technology and because of everything, now they pretty well see what this guy who we have elected is doing on a daily basis. How he is spending his time, in what kind of issues. Only के फीते ही काटने में टाइम जा रहा है क्या, कि कुछ डिलीवरी किसी को मिल भी रही है कि नहीं मिल रही है. How he is attentive to their problems and issues and needs. So ये सारी चीजें, how he is whether going in a imported car and expensive car, वो सारा कुछ देखते. So these days you must have seen all the netas and all, they are very careful. While these, most of the time you must have seen that they are posting something good for the people. Something good they must have done for the people. And in fact, in central government, I have heard that all the ministers and MPs have to submit their report card, and minister has to make the presentation what they have done in an entire year. So this is the accountability.
It is then clear that India's political economy is in the midst of a key pivot. Aspirations have taken flight, and so have electoral expectations. In the exceptional circumstances that we are in, especially in a post-COVID world, the role of the state has increased dramatically. And correspondingly, the ask of governments, especially with respect to their actions and promises made in the elections, are growing. But given the complex electoral math of India, where caste and religion still hold sway, even delivering on development is no guarantee for a re-election. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to StratNewsGlobal on YouTube. Hit the bell icon so that you don't miss any updates. And please, to share your thoughts, insights and ideas with us. I'm available on Twitter at Capital Calculus. I'll be back next week with another episode. Till then, stay safe.